new to my channel, welcome to the Curry Cottage. I love to knit and do just all kinds of creative things with fibers and beads and painting and honestly anything I can do to kind of release this creative energy I feel all the time. But knitting and sometimes crocheting are my main hobbies. I'm so excited you're here. If you've been here before, welcome back. I am on a journey this year to use up my stash. So I've already made a couple projects and I'm starting to chip away at those numbers. So I wanted to take some time today to share what my upcoming projects are going to be, and kind of what I'm thinking, and I'm hoping I get some clarity on a couple of those ideas also. I'm not totally sold on exactly what to do for everything, so we'll talk about that too, and hopefully I can use this time like a therapy session, come to some answers. Today I am wearing my porcelain sweater, which I finished last year. This pattern is by Lunit, and it is so sweet. I love the way that this hangs with, I used Knitting for Olives merino and soft silk mohair in the colorways Cloud for the white, and I used a combination of the blue tip merino and some of their dusty blue mohair for the blue section. So this was really fun to knit. I actually did a little secret with this where I steeked the top portion. So instead of working it flat like it recommends until you get to the armholes, I actually did the normal neckline and everything, and then I cast it on a couple of extra stitches in between and started knitting in the round when I got to the colorwork section. And then I reinforced my steeks and cut it, which was one of the scariest things I've ever done, to make the armholes. And then obviously I picked up stitches for the armholes, which further reinforced it. So yeah, a little bit different, but I'm really glad I did that. One, because it got me over my fear of steeking my own projects, and two, it just made it a lot easier to do the color work and keep my gauge consistent on the color work for this top pattern, as it did throughout the rest of the knit where they're knit in the round. So that's what I'm wearing today. If you've been following along with this journey, you'll know that I am embarking on the mission of knitting my entire yarn stash this year. I started out with 8,226 yards. I'm in the upper sevens now after a couple of projects, but I'll put a little like updated total out there soon. So now that I've finished a couple of projects, I'm ready to get started on the next phase of things. I've been trying to decide what to do, and one of the things that I set out knowing was that once you've caked a yarn, it can mess with the gauge if you leave it caked for too long. So I know I'm starting out with anything that's already been caked off of a hank. And then there's also just some events coming up in my life. I love to knit things as gifts, so I also want to come up with some stuff that I can knit for those as well. So one of the first projects that I've been working on, kind of after those initial few finish ups and my first project, which was a shawl, I wanted to get started on a project that would use my Manos del Uruguay Sammy and Marla yarn. This particular Marla, which is the Panna Cotta, so cool. I have had this on a cake for so long. Probably 2 years, easily. I bought it because I thought it was beautiful. And I had originally gotten Bing Cherry, which is one of the Sammy colors, as a pair to it. And then I ended up using that in a totally different project. I actually made the same pattern, but I used a different Marla with it. So this has just been caked for so long, and I tried pairing it with a lot of different colors. I don't know where my pink is right now, but like it was just hard to find something with the level of contrast that I was looking for the project. And I tried it for other things. I started and frogged a couple of different projects in the time that I've had it. So this poor skein has just been through the ringer, just constantly getting recaked, and I love it so much, and so I knew I wanted to make a project with it early on. And honestly, working on this has been exactly why I wanted to do this project. I've had this yarn for 2 years, caked, ready to go, trying it on different projects. And I've often gotten hung up on, okay, well, is this the project I want to use this yarn for? And I think what I'm learning is just use the yarn. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. If I use it up and I make something and I really like it, but there's something else I want to do, great, then in the future I can get this yarn again for that other pattern. I don't have to save this for exactly the right moment, because that's how it ends up in a box in my closet for 2 years. So that being said, of one of my final yarn hauls towards the end of last year, I got the Sammy Natural colorway, or Natura, to pair with this for the Cygnus cowl. Like I said, I've already made this pattern once before. I actually made it as a gift for a friend, and at the time I used the Bing Cherry Red, and denim was the Marla, which is a really cool, actually that I do have right here. That's really cool. So many different colors. So I'd already used up a lot of it with that. And now I just we'll talk about what I'm going to do with the rest of the Sammy and Marla that I have, because I definitely have a lot from a lot of different colorways and I have to figure out something to do with them. But I wanted to pick back up this cowl. I made it for a friend. I really liked it. And then I tried a couple different colorways to pair with the panna cotta. The Bing Cherry I liked. I think it was a little bit rusty, or not rusty, but just together they became a little bit more dulled or neutral. Whereas there's such a rich variegation, and I love the pops of pink that have been coming out with this cowl, and from the panna cotta. And with the Bing Cherry, it just it kind of read more brown. They kind of brought out the browns in each other. So that didn't really work, and I'm glad that I paired that with the denim, because that created a really interesting piece, and one that I was very excited to give to my friend as a birthday present. This project also works up relatively quickly, so again, a great one to just do as a project. It's pretty impressive. So giving it as a gift, it's clear it takes a lot of effort and skill, but it doesn't actually take that long to make, which I love for this kind of a project of trying to get through so much yarn. So I finally got Natural. I think it's really nice. I'm very into it. So I've worked the first colorwork section, which is done in stranded. You cast on with a provisional cast on. So I used just some of the extra Sammy yarn to cast this on, and I've been working from there. This pattern is by Meredith Collins, and it's actually published on the Manos del Uruguay website. It's free. It's an awesome pattern, and honestly, I could see adapting it to do some very different patterns and things like that. I think there's a lot of flexibility here, so that's cool. But for this, I wanted to stick with the classic thing. I think it's a nice structure with how variegated the yarn is, and sometimes it does get very light and very close in color to the natural color. So I wanted to have something that was a little bit more geometric, because it'll still maintain overall that sense of order as you're working. Reading through other people that have tried this pattern, I noticed that a lot of them said that it only used 3/4 to maybe 80% of their skeins if you follow the pattern exactly. Since I'm trying so hard to use up yarn, I didn't want to do that. Now, when I weighed my skeins in the beginning, I definitely had used some of the panna cotta, some of the Marla for either sampling or maybe a small project. I don't think I did though. I think I must have used it on something that I frogged and I ended up having to like throw part of it away. Maybe it got too tangled or something. So this was a little bit less than 100 grams once I actually measured it. But I kept track of how much I used up on this initial colorwork section so that now that I've done the kind of straight through portion or just the regular stockingette, I was able to make sure that I'll have enough panna cotta to do the next colorwork section in the same length, but like just enough. I'm hoping that I can play chicken a little bit or end up with just a very small amount of this left, so that I don't have to have any left over and add that to my stash. So we'll see. I also noticed some of the comments said that they had some color pooling that they didn't love working on the flat portion in the US 4 or 3.5 millimeter needles. I started to notice it a little bit, but not terribly so. One thing that I did was I just slipped a couple stitches as I was working, only on the back side. So you don't even really notice, other than the fact that there's, some color variation difference between the rows where I slipped the stitches. It's so few. I mean, I probably did that with a dozen to 20 stitches on the back, across a couple different rows, just to help break up where the yarn was hitting when I got to the other side. And I think it worked well. I don't know what it would look like if I hadn't done that. I have a little bit of a sense because of where it started out down here. But overall, I don't see a lot of color pooling here that I'm unhappy with. I think it looks really nice. I like these bands of like pinker sections. So yeah, I'm happy with how it's coming out, and no frogging this time. We're just going all the way through on this project. So very happy with that. So this will probably be the next thing that I finish, which is great. Since I had more of the Marla for the Cygnus cowl, I know I'm going to end up with some of the white left over. That's actually okay with me. I have a handful of, literally, maybe 2 handfuls, of extra Sammys and Marlas. So I have this nice light blue Sammy color. I have denim, which I'd showed before. I had started working on a tank top, I think, that included it, but now it's just this silly little triangle, so I will frog that and have a little bit more denim as a result. I also have this nice blue variegated Marla, and I have this awesome like dark blue color. Actually, this one has its thing in it. Galaxy blue Sammy. So between those are all shades of blue, and then with the white, I think there's definitely some fun stuff that I could do with the combination of these. I don't actually know what that will be. But that's another bonus of starting with the Cygnus, because then I'll have this left over and I can finally address some of these smaller skeins of Sammy and Marla. So they have a lot of great resources on their site. I will definitely be looking at those, but I want to find something that can use up kind of the rest of this. So we'll see where I end up with on the white that I can then combine with the others. So another project that I'm excited to embark upon uses this yarn, which again, it's already caked. I know I want to use it up while it's pretty fresh. I only got it towards the end of last year, maybe early this year, and I had bought it with the Uma scarf in mind. The Uma scarf is by Petite Knit, who I recently learned has like a lot of mixed feelings about her patterns just because they're so minimalist. Personally, I really like them. I'll talk about more of her sweater patterns and things in another video, but I do want to highlight the Uma scarf. So she has this pattern written to be done in cashmere, which I am not made of money, so I didn't do that. Instead, I got this other yarn. So I instead have been using the Louisa Harding Karaz yarn for this, and honestly love. I think her pattern also calls for a sport weight. This is actually worsted, but I knew I wanted something a little bit bigger. So I am so pleased with how this original one came out. As you can see, I have the blue edging. This honestly matches pretty much what she has in her photo. I wanted to include that nice blue edging, but that meant buying an entire skein of this, and I promised I would do something with it, so now's my time to own up. I know I have a little bit of the darker blue around, so I'm hoping I can just make an inverse of the scarf. I did include that amount of yarn in my totals for this project, even though I'm not sure exactly how much I have because I can't find it. But it's somewhere in this room. I know that. So I will track it down. And I think I'm just going to run this back because I loved making this project. It was quick. It's really beautiful. With spring, I know that I will get a lot of use out of it, and hopefully just kind of vary what I can wear it with. Right now, with this being this darker blue color, and maybe I'm going to talk myself out of this edging now, but I wear a lot of navy blue, and so if I'm wearing a navy blue top, I don't want to layer this on top, so having the light blue one would be really nice. Maybe I'll do like an eyelet or something along the edge, or maybe I'll do like a picot edge or something. Okay, that's something to think about. But I will definitely use this for another variation of the Uma scarf, since I know it works so well with that pattern, and it would just give me like another version of it that would be different in my collection. So that would be great. So I know what I'm doing with this. Another yarn that I already have caked is this Malabrio Rios. I have this nice red Rios. Beautiful. It's already caked, so again, want to use it up. But I got this natural one. I will need to, oh, it's literally called natural. I got this nice white color, want to pair it, so I'll go ahead and cake this hank when it comes time to make this. I am thinking for this that I'm going to try this Autumn Fade cowl. I had thought about trying to write my own pattern for this. I have some of the note cards and the book for doodle knits, which are so fun, and I do want to do something with those, but I also kind of want to just bang this out really quick. So rather than drafting something up and getting caught up on all that, I think I'm going to go with the Autumn Fade cowl. Similar to what I was saying with the Cygnus cowl, that pattern doesn't seem to use up all of the contrast color. It seems like it leaves some left over, which honestly I'm fine with on this one because I have a couple of other colors in Rios. This nice like jeans blue color, and then I also have, I think this one is called like grape wine or off the vine or something with wine and grapes, and it is like a really cool variegated purple and blue. So I'm not sure what I could do that would bring all of these guys together, but with the white, I'm thinking maybe I can find something, or I can use the white to work with like the blue separately, and then like maybe the other two can go together. So it'll just be nice to have a little bit more in this collection for these smaller ones, because that's really then getting into what I wanted to do with this project, which is address the smaller bits of yarn that have been left over by larger projects. So I think if I start with that, then I can have a little bit left over still, which is great, and I'll be able to use it towards those. Another project that I'm so excited to work on uses this amazing hand-dyed yarn. I bought this on Facebook Marketplace from a woman who was collecting hand-dyed yarn from a lot of different travel that she'd done, and she just basically said she got too much, was selling off her stash. It's a relatable topic. But I really loved this, and actually, I bought a couple of things from her, but this was the thing that like made me get in my car and drive the half hour in the rain to go pick it up. Just because I love the speckling in this. Um, she got this in Colorado. It's called Get Knit Faced in Colorado, which I think is awesome. And this is a superwash wool with some nylon. It's about 75% superwash, 25% nylon. And originally I had thought that I would do socks with this, but that was at the time that I had just knit my first pair and I was like voracious for anything sock related. However, the more I look at this, the more I know I want to have it be something that's more visible. I want to be able to wear this out and not just hide it away on my feet. So definitely going to do something different with this. I also got this beautiful Malabrigo Ultimate sock to pair with it. Which, if you look at them together, they're so lovely. So a really nice rich blue. This is called Côte d'Azur. I want to bring these two yarns together using the pattern Local Yarn Cowl by Casapinka. This is such a cute pattern. I got this a long time ago buying some fingering skeins that qualified me at a local yarn shop day, but I didn't end up using them for that pattern, and now I've had it sitting for a while. So two birds here, because I get to use up this yarn that I think is so beautiful, and I also get to use this pattern that I've been really excited to use. I think I've casted it on a couple times and then either decided that I wasn't ready to knit it or didn't like the color combo I ended up with or something like that. So I'm actually really thrilled about this combo. I think this will make a really nice version of that scarf, and it's going to be so nice for spring. So I'm excited about that. The pattern author actually said that she kind of created this with in her mind the fact that you would use two hand dyed or maybe like one hand dyed skein of yarn and wanted a chance to pair it up, show it off, but also use it all up. So honestly, checking all of my boxes on things that I'm looking for projects. So I will definitely be making the local yarn cowl as well, and I'm so excited to have this project. Sometimes there's projects that I'm excited to work because of whatever's included in the pattern, the intricate nature of it, or maybe it's, just something that I think the pace of it will be really nice. And I'm not saying I don't think those things about this pattern. It seems to have a really lovely mosaic slip feature to it, just to kind of, instead of having it be just stripes all the way through, add a little bit of texture and element. But I look at this, and now that I look at the colors of yarn I know I'm going to use, like, I cannot wait to wear this. Throw this on top of just like a white t-shirt or something, truly. It'll be so nice to have and very springy, and I'm just like excited to get to show it off a little bit. So, local yarn cowl. So those are the projects I'm thinking of for now. I have a couple more cakes that are ready to go, but I'm holding off because, or I'm not really holding off, but I'm starting with these because I have very clear ideas of what I want to do with them. They're all relatively smaller projects that I can kind of bang out really quickly or get back into use of color work. Or they're just using up yarns that are already caked and maybe have some siblings that are waiting for a solution. Or are waiting for a project. So it'll be nice to get some extra yarn from those projects to then kind of launch me into what's next. So hopefully that's helpful, gives you some ideas of things that you can do with smaller amounts of yarn. I think basically all of the projects that I've been talking about use either 100 or 200 grams of yarn because they either use just the initial 100 grams or they combine two contrasting skeins together. So they're great projects to kind of get things going. There are a couple of patterns that I want to work that are not off of caked or partially caked yarns, and that's because I have a couple of things that I want to make for other people as well. The first is I have a very good friend who actually got us some clothes at the Masters this year, which I'm really excited about. She is a member at Augusta. Her family are all members, so she goes every year, and she was generous enough to get us a couple sweatshirts, a polo for my husband, a hat. I'm so pumped about all of it. So I don't have exclusive access to anything other than the fact that I can hand knit her something. So I'm going to make her the scarf number 4 by My Favorite Things. I've actually made this a couple times, including ones for myself, using the Knitting for Olive merino and soft silk mohair. It's a great project for when there are leftovers from another project. In fact, the mohair that I'm going to use for my scarf for my friend is the leftover from this. So it's the cloud mohair, and I'm going to pair that with the cotton merino that I have that is in the color oatmeal. So a very nice, very slightly marled, not even really that marled, neutral. Together, I think it's going to give it kind of a really soft, creamy look. You will see, I think you're going to see it a little bit, the strands of mohair with it, but I think that's going to actually look really, really nice with the texture. So I like those together a lot. She's a neutrals girl, so I think this will be a really nice gift to make her. It also does work up pretty quick. Generally speaking, I think it's a lovely little pattern, very easy to remember the cadence of it, when to make your increases and decreases, and it's very easy to use up all the yarn you have. She even recommends weighing how much you have so that you can work up to just under your halfway point, and then on the increases half of the scarf, and then go down from there. So really lovely pattern, and a really lovely friend to make it for, since she is giving us the lovely gift of having gotten us some gear from the Masters, which is really hard to do. The other thing that I know I want to knit, that I'm actually not going to share until it's done, is a gift for my mother-in-law, because her birthday is coming up in a couple weeks and we're celebrating together as a family. I think I've made them some smaller things, like maybe some coasters at one point, but I haven't done a lot for her before, and I'm constantly knitting stuff for her grandchildren, my nieces and nephew. So I thought this would be fun since I'm going through everything now and I have a lot of yarn for some smaller projects. I'm thinking about something kind of like the scarf number 4. I just haven't picked it yet, and I don't know exactly when I'm going to upload this, so I don't want to spoil anything by giving that away. So I will share the finished product before I actually give it to her.